There are some things I know now I wish students would know, and I wish I had known it before I entered school. But so my advice to students is I would encourage you to explore. Don't just focus on your books, because it is in the exploring of the other areas of your life that you will discover purpose. A question. She said, what kind of student were you in the university? How were you able to balance your academics and everything? And what is your advice to students who are just starting up? So for me, some of the things thank God for the experience I had from secondary school. I started my first business after secondary school, and that was making liquid soap. And then I was selling liquid soap. I took to my dad's shop. I sold to some persons, but at the point liquid soap was becoming popular. And then I switched over to making peanuts. I went to my aunt's house and I saw her making peanuts. I learned peanuts immediately. I came back home and I would make peanuts. I was packaging. I was distributing to school. My mom was my major supplier then. She distributed to her school shop. And I reached out to my school to, start up before admission came. So when I got admission, my plan was I wanted to run for either SUG vice president. I knew there was leadership potentials in me. I wanted to run for maybe SUG vice president or departmental president, but I just wanted to do leadership, and I wanted to be in between. Okay, serve God small, but we were so choked up in house, going to church every time. Even though I didn't know God, I was majorly just going to church because my dad, in Christian environment, you just have to blend into the culture. So that was it. So university was the time I wanted to explore, get into relationship, like I said. But then I met I met a community of young people who loved God, who could speak in tongues, and they were beautiful and handsome. I'm like, oh my God, I thought speaking in tongues was just for these men of God, because several times in church it was only pastors that could speak in tongues. And the environment where I was coming from, man, when you see people who were Christians, it makes you feel like Christianity is associated with poverty. You see the shoe is bent, you see the ladies, they are not beautiful. I said I was not going to really serve God until 40s and then the rest. But I got into school, I saw a different light. I saw young people, guys, ladies who were beautiful, born again, and were serving God. So I was hooked. And so being in that community, made me, and I wanted to be like them. I wanted to know God. I remember I had to rededicate my life afresh on 11th of June 2014. And then I also got baptized in the Holy Ghost in April 2014 at an Easter conference. And that was just the beginning of it. So I was in NIFES as a student. And while in NIFES, leadership hit me early. I've always been this person that wherever I go to, it's easy for people to spot me and I get the leadership position. So it is the way God made me. It's not that we'll fight for it. There are times I volunteer, but even without volunteering, leadership spots me everywhere I go to. So I am a born leader, and now I don't need the title to become a leader. Purpose has made me take up responsibilities even without offices. So I first served as a treasurer in NIFES. That was still as a year one student. I was a treasurer. And after I gave my life to Christ in school, so it made me cut off from some of my friends. Not really, it made me a bit, I wasn't so hyperactive in my department, because I had this personal policy during exam not to ask, not to cheat, and not to tell. I call it the ACT. And because of my principle, it made me not have a lot of friends in my department. Year one was really tough for me. I remember there was this exam we were writing, and everybody, it was as if the invigilator gave everyone the open space to do whatever you want to do, and people were asking. So I didn't know what I was doing, but I was actually writing, and I needed to write fast because as the treasurer, we had an Easter conference and I needed to finish on time and go for Easter conference that day. So I was writing. A lot of persons thought I knew what I was writing, although I have an idea, but I was just writing, and they were just calling Anne. My principal was before me, and I had this pride. Not pride, but if I make up my mind to do something, I stick to it. And after that, I submitted my papers and I left. When I came back after the Easter the next time, this guy walked up to me. I said, "What is wrong with you? Are you still in secondary school? Who wants to take position? Who wants to?" I was embarrassed. But then, it made me, I was more to myself in department. And then in fellowship, I was more of the social type. So from becoming the treasurer, I moved on to become the subzonal secretary. First time, I became 2 times subzonal secretary. So I was serving all through my years in university. There were times where I did not even stay long because as a leader, you were the last to leave school and you were the first to resume, because there were times we had retreats, 3 days dry fasting. I did it in school. So my advice to students is I would encourage you to explore. Don't just focus on your books, because it is in the exploring of the other areas of your life that you will discover purpose. Purpose is enshrined in your day-to-day activities, your day-to-day passion, your volunteering, your involvement in other things. Those are little things that would indicate you to purpose. But when you don't give yourself the opportunity to explore, it's going to take you a whole lot of time to discover yourself. So that's self-discovery journey. And one thing I've learned in discovering purpose is that today, when I look back on so many things, I see that all of them were somehow intertwined. So my passion from listening to radio as a kid, to traveling abroad, to experiencing extracurricular activities, were the things that are now lined up to what I am doing today, because I want young people to experience education beyond the classroom. I know that we are so much focused on the formal aspect of education, but there's a huge role the informal and the non-formal sector has to do in human capacity development and talent development. So undergraduates or those currently in school, I'd encourage you, if you see leadership position, take it up. Volunteer. You're not going to fail your exams. The only thing people don't do is they don't know how to balance their time. If you know how to balance your time, you won't have too much time. There are people who just students have a lot of time. Learn a skill. I didn't know this on time. I would have learned a lot of digital skills, 1 or 2 digital skills. It was by the time when I was done with my final year /NYSC, that was when my eyes opened and I knew that I need to catch up. Because there are really no jobs, but you can create jobs for yourself by your talent and the skills you've acquired. So you can become an entrepreneur by having the skills that meet needs and money comes to you. So while you're pursuing your academics, it's good. Learn a skill, explore, volunteer, go for conferences, serve in leadership position. 1, it is exposing you. 2, it is building your CV. Okay, so that's that for that. And there was something unique that happened to me. So I told you, while in my department, during final year, I was voted as the most reserved female. Reserved female. And guess what? The irony was, in fellowship, I was voted as the most social female. I've been thinking about this thing. It was just last week, because I am currently reading Why You Act the Way You Do for the 2nd time, and then I think I have more perspective to why it happened. Okay, so I was there like, oh, so that means, and you are socially reserved. So I'm quite socially reserved. But it was just, I discovered that when I come into a place and everyone is so overly hyper active, making noise, I decide to just tone it down to become the cool one, because everybody cannot be mad at the same time. So you get, so that was what I was doing in the department. People were just making noise, raz. When you come to this department, so I decided to just be reserved. Not like I can't talk, but when it comes to presentation, I was always the group leader. Whenever they come to presentation, they'll be like, no, Anne, you'll be our group leader. And whenever there's a group and I'm there, they always make me group leader. And guess what? My group has always been getting A or B, and everyone in my group can. They see me as a person of integrity, someone who is focused, so they just feel like we can give Anne our money and then she would still deliver. So, but in fellowship, and fellowship is a place where other people they come and then they are now cool, reserved. They don't want to show themselves. And because everyone is cool, so I decided to now go my way out to become very social. When I see people who are coming to fellowship for the first time, I'm like, hey, how are you doing? My name is Anne. What is your name? Oh, I like your face. See your smile. I was now doing. So with that, I became the most social in fellowship. Someone asked me, how did you discover purpose? So I read a lot of books while in school, extracurricular books. There are people who see me in school there, be like, Anne, how do you even read all this book? And guess what? I did not fail. I came out with a very high 2.1. I had 4.03. If I had wanted to have a first class in school, honestly, I would have, but my mind was not really there. So it shows that you could balance it. I was actively involved in fellowship. I was traveling to other schools as a leader, as a sub-zonal secretary. You're organizing elections, you're organizing leadership trainings, you're organizing rural outreaches, you're organizing leadership conferences, Easter conferences, but my academics did not fail. So there has to be a balance. And then I was also reading books. I was going for conferences and prayers. I constantly kept praying. I was like, God, what do you want me to do? And I remember in 2017, that was my final year in school. And then it was just impressed in my spirit that I'm to reach out to teenagers and youth through education and media. And since then, it has formed the pillars of everything I do. I'm a self-taught media personnel. Okay, I ventured into photography while serving as a youth corps member, and then since then I just do things. I just love media. I like exploring. I learned how to do a lot of things by myself, and hopefully for my master's I hope to study something related to media and education. Yes, so this is my story. And everything that has happened to me has accumulated in making and in betting the new me, the Makan of today. What do I do now? From the desire to become a barrister to becoming an accountant to studying business education. Now I am a corporate MC, a transformational speaker. I am an author. I am a personal development strategist. I am the lead trainer at the Talk with Mark and Consult, which is a human capacity, a media, and a personal development firm. So we're into human capacity development and media. So that's the two angle for the Talk with Mark. And so the human capacity, we organize trainings, conferences, group coaching, personal coaching to help people become the best version of themselves, gain clarity to fulfill purpose. And then the media aspect, where we have shows, we have the photography aspect, event coverage, event hosting, content creation, branding. So that's that about the Talk with Mark and Consult. And then I run Teens Connect Africa, which I believe is going to grow and become a club in different parts of Africa, where teenagers would get the platform to develop their talent and become productive members of the society. I was productive as a teenager, and that experience alone is the drive that makes me want to replicate it in other teenagers. When we have them productive, we're going to reduce the rate of crime, teenage pregnancies, cultism, and name it. So you can partner with me, especially with the NGO. If you want to volunteer, if you want to start it up in your community, we are still building structure and to get to a point where we can replicate it in other communities. But for now, we just have one center in Zuba, which is where I grew up from. But I believe from Zuba, we're going to spread to other parts of Nigeria and also other parts of Africa. If you have any more questions you want me, just ask in the comment section. Tell me what you like. So my final words: subscribe to my channel. Even if you're not going to do anything, you may not be able to do much for me, but you can do this one thing. As long as you have a phone and you're watching this video, you can subscribe. I love you, and I love God. If you are here and you're still at the point where you're confused, you don't know how to, you just hear about purpose and you're asking yourself, why am I even on earth? Why am I existing? I would say this: the creator of a thing knows best why he created a thing, and you cannot discover your purpose outside your creator. God created you. So the first phase is having a relationship with God. Okay, so if you don't have a relationship with God, whatever your religion is, it's not about religion, but it's about you having that relationship with God where you can hear him and he communes with you. Okay, and with that, explore, you begin to discover more about yourself. And know that clarity does not come just once. Clarity comes in the place of action. There are times where I've prayed and then God did not say, my daughter, do this. But I just have the faith that since I have a cordial relationship with God, He's constantly guiding me. So, and I can't make mistake because I always consult Him. Sometimes once I just notice that peace in my heart, I just take that action. So it's knowing God would save you from a lot of trial and error, and it's my desire for you that you come into a relationship with God. If you don't yet have that personal relationship with God, I just want you to go back to God and say, Lord, I want to know you more. And no one comes to the Father except through Jesus. So I want you to accept Jesus into your life as your Lord and personal Savior, because Jesus is the way, He is the truth, and He is the life. Once you have Jesus, you have life, and that is the true essence of living. And once you have life, purpose becomes easier.